What is up, people? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, April 1st. Happy April Fools, I guess. But there's not going to be any surprise or poor April Fools jokes from me today. I'm seeing way too many of them this morning already on social media. It's overdone. It's overdone. People be like, I'm quitting bodybuilding, or I'm going on steroids, or I'm on steroids and now I'm going off steroids. There's just so many of these fucking poor attempts at being funny. And it can be funny in some contexts, but coming up with an April Fool's that's going to be of merit, not for me really. Anyway, today has been standard as always. You know, wake up in the morning, go about my usual morning routine. You will have seen some of that in the time lapse. But today's going to be a leg day, which I haven't recorded a leg day in a long time on the channel, and I certainly haven't done one mic'd up. So I have my mic all charged, so there's no excuse for me not to do it today. This is my easier of the leg days because, I mean, the other day I have like RDLs involved alongside Bulgarian split squats, but it's still hard, right? Ultimately, growing legs does require you to have a little bit of balls and to, do things that people who have small legs aren't willing to do, which is typically just train them hard and take it to the house. So I'm going to bring you through what the session is going to look like. I'm going to do some talking bits when we're in the gym. But right now, I need to go down and have my pre-workout meal, which is going to be the standard as always. Rice cooker meal, potatoes, rice, chicken, broccoli, beef, honey, chili oil, and butter. You've seen it before, you don't need to see it again. So the next clip will be me going into the gym, and we will see how today's session goes. Because the last few weeks, it's been an absolute banger, and history tends to repeat itself. So I'm in for a good one. All right, we'll catch you in the gym. All right, we just got to the gym. First thing as first is get the tracker up. So if you're not tracking your training, you're already behind. So I've been tracking my training for well over a decade at this point, because you want to be coming into the gym with some kind of idea of what you did last week and what you want to be for today. So just tracking your training, very, very simple way to do that. I used to be a big advocate of just using the logbook, but since working with AJ, I've just been sticking to the likes of this spreadsheet here, because it just allows me to keep more consistently logging the data for him, so he knows where I am pushing myself with training, and maybe also where he needs to make adjustments to my training if things are starting to slow down. I'll put the full session up on screen. I'm going to jot this down, get up a good playlist, and then it's time to get into legs. So one thing you'll see a lot of people mess up when they're doing this is when they're getting themselves in a position, they'll try to grab the long end of the rope and just kneel down and then get the weight stack into position. But naturally enough, for this position, if I want to get the weight down, I'm going to have to essentially do a bit of a pull down or pull over to get the weight pretty much, or the straps over my shoulder, and then wedge myself in position. So it's going to be wasting a lot of energy and being really, really efficient at the start. So what I do want to do, we're facing away. We want to get these straps and pull them over our shoulders, right? Now from here, I'm thinking about kind of pinning my elbows down into my sides and trying to contract my lats. This is helping me to stabilize my upper body as I get into position, so the weight doesn't have too much control over me. So then from here, I get myself really, really close to the weight stack. The further away I am, the less leverage I have. So if I get nice and close to the weight stack now, so again, getting this leg and pushing it into the stack. So you go 3, 2, 1. Boom. Into position, nice and easy. Then all I need to do from here, lift my chest up, extending through the thoracic spine. Inhale. And into the set. If you exhale on the contraction, you'll find you get way more out of your abs. Alright, the session is off to a good start. That's an increase in reps and load from last week. Maybe it's the pressure of being on camera that's making me perform a little bit better in that exercise, but it's only one exercise, so I'm not going to get our hopes up too early. One of the most important concepts when it does come to gaining muscle over time is that we want to see performance improvements happening. The only way you're going to be able to see performance improvements happening is if you're working for them, of course, but also tracking them. We need to have an idea of what we did last week, the week before that, to be able to identify trends within our training performance, to see, are we stalling out in exercises? Are we working as hard as we potentially think we are? Because what I find is a lot of people will not track, right? And they will use the same loads, the same reps for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and they wonder why they're not gaining size, because they're not actually applying like any additional effort relative to last week. Training is always meant to be as hard as it was the previous week, but you're hoping that when you come into the session the next week, you're a little bit stronger. You're able to push for that extra rep, you're able to get that extra little bit of load. Because if you just do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result. You're going to look the exact same. So track on a spreadsheet, track on a notes app with your phone, get a logbook. Whatever way is going to allow you to have some oversight in your training is going to be the way forward. And that's the process of bodybuilding, right? You're just looking to get a little bit better over time, but you need to know where you're getting better from. On to calves now. I always find starting the session off with the abs and the calves is a nice little kind of easing in to this session. And then once that's over, that's kind of like the most boring stuff out of the way. So let's get these done.
Yeah.
Okay, so last bit of the boring work before we can actually get into the meat of today's session. We have some laterals. So I've been doing these side laterals, cable laterals on my leg day since I started with AJ now. Just as a means to get into some additional side delts volume, because they're definitely an area which I need to grow to improve my physique. I think there's one thing that people will be afraid to do when they're programming for hypertrophy. They will be like, okay, I can only do legs and legs, or I can only do push exercises on push day, or I can only do upper body exercise on upper day. If you have a body part that is a target area that you need to grow, but placing additional volume on an already existing session for that body part, like it could be a push or an upper body day, is going to intrude on the quality of the volume you can do there. Another way you can just improve the quality of the volume across the week is increase the frequency and put it on something like a leg day. So that's essentially what I'm doing here. It's not uncommon to see people even doing things like arms at the start of their leg day, which I have some clients do who need to improve their arms. Just as a means, again, to increase frequency, increase volume, and increase quality of the work. So that's essentially why I'm doing that here. The way I have the cable set, I have them pretty much set so that the cable is around 90 degrees to my wrist. That's just going to make it hardest in this bottom position. So this is to kind of balance the loading across my week with my lateral raises. So I have some where I'm loading a lot heavier in this like more length position, and I have some like the dumbbell lateral raises which are going to be a lot heavier in this position, but not a huge amount going on around here. There might be some benefits to varying up your training this way, but all in all is that it is fun, and it's fun to do, and it keeps your training exciting, and there's a lot of merit to it. Go. All right, we are on to the nutcrackers, or as the females would call them, the good girl. Yeah, good girl, bad girl, open, good girl close. For guys, it's just called a nutcracker. So on to adductors. If there has been one exercise to improve my legs across the last year, it's doing these consistently. It's funny because like the first time I ever used this machine, I was literally at 110 kilos, which is like 110 pounds, which is like the fourth plate down. And now I have 2 plates left to do on the machine. So the progress has been wild, but it's also really shown in my physique, because when I competed in 2022, like the end of prep pictures actually haunt me. I was looking back at them like a few weeks back, and in all my front shots, you just see a massive gaping hole between my legs. I had quads, somewhat. I had glutes, and I had hamstrings, but I had no adductors. It's just a big gaping hole in the middle of my legs. Then when the adductors are big, they fill that gap. And that's one thing I've just been working really, really hard on across like the last year. And it's funny because I was doing powerlifting lead up to my 2022 season, got up to 250 kilo squat, got up to 287 kilo deadlift, and I still had no adductors. And even though the adductors are very active in the squat, they're active in a lot of hinge patterns, there's no better way to train them than just doing a direct adductor movement. So this has been key across last year. So some important teaching points for it is when you're performing them, I don't just like think about pulling myself down into the seat, but I like reaching back onto the handles and almost kind of pulling myself in towards it and down. That's just to keep my upper body stable, so the weight is not kind of starting to pull me more forward. In regards to the foot placement, some people will swear by having their feet like just hanging out over the side versus like pushing their feet down into the machine. I just let them go wherever they're comfortable. Typically my feet are just kind of like hang out, but at the same time I am still thinking about contracting through my entire leg, because if I am stable through my foot, even though it's not really pressing against anything, it's going to help the muscles all the way up the chain contract that a little bit easier. The other part with it is just you want to ensure that the range of motion is set as wide as is comfortable, but not any further. Because if you have it any further, getting out of the machine is going to be a pain, getting into the machine is going to be a pain, and you will just potentially push yourself in a range of motion that you can't control, and that's where typically injuries tend to happen. So I'm going to get into my top set here. You have 215 pounds. It's on setting 3, by the way, so it's heaviest in the length and range. Let's see how we get on. Go. So the pressure is definitely happening at the load PR on the adductor, so 215 for 9 reps. That's 5 pounds up from last week and max reps. And it's stuck at 210 for 9 for like the last couple of weeks. Up heavy ever on the line hamstring curl, and then I'm on to 45-degree hip extension. So some important notes when you're looking to do this is with the actual input pad, if you're looking to train your glutes, your hamstrings, adductors, you want to have the pad positioned below the hip joint. What I see is a lot of people will have the pad set up too high, and then they just end up flexing through their lower back as they get to the movement. And then lo and behold, they feel their lower back versus getting a lot out of their glutes and hamstrings. So you want to have that actually set below the hip bone. So if you just like feel the bony landmark that you'll feel just on your waist, that's essentially your hip bone. And you want to position the pad below that, so your hips actually have room to move as you go through the movement pattern. So that's probably like the number one aspect to look out for when you're actually kind of getting into the exercise. And next thing is like actually think about your feet being active. So I have my feet planted into the actual foot plate here, but I'm also thinking about kicking into the pad behind me, so the calf restraint. And what I'm doing moves, I'm actually thinking about performing like almost a mini leg curl as I push my quads into the actual pad on the hip extension. Two most important points. Ensure that your hips have room to move and your hip pad is set appropriately. And next thing is actually push through your hips by pushing through your quads, and keep tension through your hamstrings by kicking into the calf restraint. And that will change how this exercise feels completely for you versus just being all like loose on the machine and having it set too high and then just feeling through your back and saying it's a shit exercise. It's a great exercise. You just need to learn how to do it properly. Okay, we're on to the final exercise of today. What I want to finish off with leg press. Got 2 sets here. One normal set, 8 to 10. Second set, 1.5 reps. So half rep at the bottom, full rep. That's 1 rep. Pretty much as many reps as I can. So typically what I do is I reach the failure point with the 1.5 reps. Then once I can't do the half rep or can't trust myself to just do the lengthened portion, I just do full reps from then on in. This completely fucked me, especially after leg extension. So we're getting into it, so we're not hogging the machine for too long. Ugh. Okay. Alright, we're back from the gym, just on our evening walk. So haven't showed you any food that I've had today because that's literally what the last few vlogs have revolved around, what I've been eating. It's the exact same. Training session was phenomenal. It didn't slow down after those hip extensions, although kind of annoying because I did actually forget to press record for the leg press top set. That set was tough. I asked the owner of the gym to give me a spot, and I specifically told him to not give me any force reps because, you know, I didn't want it to impact the next set, and then it just makes things a little bit messy from a progression perspective for next week. I do like to just have my effort standardized. I really just want him to spot because I feel a little bit more comfortable getting to depth on each rep, especially those final few ones. Force reps he gave me. The last rep was one of those ones where you feel like you have like no eccentric control and the sled is just about to squash you, and if he wasn't there it certainly would have. But all in all, phenomenal session. And yeah, we're just finishing off today here with our steps. We are 2.5 weeks out now from the wedding. 2 weeks and 2 days. Yeah, well, we're 2 weeks away from all of our friends and family coming over. Well, a lot of them, bridal party at least. And then we have a villa booked for ourselves and bridal party. So we're gonna have probably a barbecue the first night, something like that. Thursday night, family dinner, and with the bridal party, and then Friday is the wedding. So time is a ticking, and myself and Emma have been very good across the last couple of weeks. We've been just in such a nice routine, that like I'm kind of not looking forward to being disrupted with the wedding in a way, as much as I'm looking forward to actually enjoying the thing that we are working towards. Sometimes we're just in such a good flow, like meals, meal timings, training routine, work routine, you know, fucking my brain's working when it comes to content, sleep is efficient and great. Everyone's just like super productive right now from all perspectives. And I know the week after the wedding, that is all just going to go down to Swanee, and it's going to be tough to get those wheels turned again. They will get turned again, like no doubt. It's just like that bit of resistance after a weekend of drinking and, you know, being the worst version of yourself. As a result though, the body composition has remained just as tight, and it's actually been quite eye-opening that I've been able to maintain this body weight so easily, because in previous like phases of, you know, I would have just been used to just dieting and gaining and non-stop, whereas I've just purposely been maintaining for the last month now. It'll be pretty much 6 weeks, same calorie level and same body weight. And one thing that's really stood out is that I've been able to continue making like some pretty good strides for training performance. Like, I would have expected the fact that my body weight hasn't crept up that much, that my progressions would be really, really slow, but they've been as good as if I was in a surplus. So, you know, we'll take that. We'd only mean that maybe when we go into the surplus, we could have some big PBs in the carriage, because I'm definitely at like an all-time strength level for this body weight, which is pretty damn cool. So long way to continue. But I'm gonna wrap up this video here. Short enough one, bit of training talk, bit of life update. Yeah, next week for our final episode we'll be this close to the culmination of this life milestone, I guess. Yeah, anyway, not great words. Anyway, talk soon. Good luck.